Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Butter speaking in a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. I think it's actually gotten worse. I honestly need a haircut because I keep sweating on my forehead so much. My room is facing south, I just keep boiling all the time. I don't know how many baths I take, I always wake up in the morning drenched. It's not good. Anyway, as you can see, I followed through, in case people haven't seen, with the promise that I made. I actually did shave because, again, just didn't feel like me anymore. And here I am now, basically. Not really much to report right now, apart from the fact that I made a mistake again. See this slope here? Yeah, I thought it'd be a great idea to go down here and, you know, have the steep incline and then work my way back up again using the other one, which is not as bad. However, what I didn't factor in is the fact that the incline actually, now I remember, seeing how far down it goes, is almost just as steep. And there doesn't even much leg room in terms of places to, you know, walk on Walking Wednesday. Oh well. Either way, I'm not actually able to report much, basically, because again, a lot of the stuff that I have been doing recently has been a lot of soul searching with close friends and sometimes family and other things like that. I know it makes it seem like I'm making excuses for puppy love, but honestly, puppy love has been delayed for a completely different reason. Again, that scene that I said before, there has still been no chance that the editor can send that over. So basically, both Emma and I are stuck without being able to release the next episode until that happens. Honestly, the perfect chance to have done so would have been today, quite frankly. Because we actually have, because that's actually been a week, I believe, since the last episode came out. At least supposedly, anyway. You know, they went to me on a 7-day cycle, 2 episodes, and so far only one of those has actually come out, and it's the one that we actually prepared, you know, 2 weeks prior. So I don't know. I'm going to probably run this by Emma. She's probably going to agree anyway, because honestly at this point it's more liking than friends me trying to produce, you know, 2 episodes for today, obviously. I've compiled the audio for all of them, but it never takes me any less than 2 days to make anything gacha related. Gacha music videos sometimes take 3 days, usually 4. And gacha voice actor projects, well, don't get me started. But yeah, they actually tend to take far longer. So I'm wondering if we can keep the cycle going for June, then maybe interspace that with the next Mutant Girl episode for release date on July, and then go back to Puppy Love and maybe do another cycle like that. Which is basically what happened with Through Her Eyes last year, and that's what delayed season 2 of Mutant Girl to come out. My concern, honestly, with the Mutant Girl is, even though I said I was going to take as long as I needed for certain episodes, I didn't factor in all the other projects I'd want to do in the meantime. I even promised my tutor that I'd work on the animated musical that I did lots of songs for in the assignment, and that's barely gotten off the ground either. And that's a very summary project, so you'd think that'd be the perfect chance to do that. Obviously, Pride Month, you know, it takes more priority. Oh, it's actually not that steep. Never mind. I was exaggerating. Turns out I did do the correct thing, apart from the fact that there's a lorry coming now. I try and record these well after I'm away from my house, and also well after, you know, any vehicles that may be about. And sometimes it does not work. Anyway, my concern with the Mutant Girl is season 2 is is that it's going to keep going, and it's going to have to carry on until next year as well. I haven't really said that before because I'm usually like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to make sure this is the best it possibly can be and everything. And of course I did mean that until I had that epiphany from a few weeks ago, where I was like, I need to be able to produce a complete product. Even if I'm not 100% happy with it, somebody else might be, and also I know where I can improve in the future and keep getting better. Because if I don't release anything, I'll just end up like Miss Devil and having to be a huge perfectionist all the time before I release a single video. And I can't really afford to do that, because one of the only things that's keeping my channel alive is the fact that people really want me to get to 1K for starters, and also the fact that it's active most of the time. The fact that I do stuff like Walking Wednesday, like these streams, all that stuff. Things that people can, interact with. Well, not this, obviously. But just regular stuff that people know when they're going to come back to. Even if the other stuff I release is completely random. And I have another channel to worry about as well. So I don't know. But yeah, in terms of the Mutant Girl, because season 1, even though I pushed for that month release date of everything, and I finished it off just in time to be complete by the end of 2019. And I do mean just in time, because the last part of the last episode of season 1 came out on December 31st, 2019. Mere minutes before before New Year, at least in my time zone. So yeah, needless to say, that was something. But yeah, I don't know. Season 2, obviously, because of the way things have panned out, because of mini-series, because of other projects, because of not stressing myself out as much about it, has inevitably ended up with it carrying on for half a year longer than the last season. And I don't really want that trend to continue necessarily. But we are getting more ambitious with what we do. The reason Puppy Love takes so long is because I was being very ambitious with my visuals, especially because at the time writing the script I thought that Emma was going to take care of everything in terms of visuals, and I would be on audio duty, which is what I do best in terms of, well, in comparison to her. However, that's ended up not being the case. Because we ended up, splitting everything up because of, attention spans, ADHD, all that kind of stuff. And otherwise, it just would never end up releasing, especially after the termination of Emma's old channel, which is where it was supposed to go. That first episode that you saw, that was meant to be on It's Mimi-chan. Another major collaboration. And then the next episode would be on mine, and so on and so forth. We switched it because that idea was designed mainly to promote me at the time, and now it's Emma, the one that needs to get back to her former glory and stand where she once stood, because what happened to her was not fair. So in that regard, it's in that regard, we did make the right switch. However, it's just the way it turned out with all the other editors and stuff. It's sometimes a blessing, sometimes a curse. It's weird because I guess you could argue that during the summer months, maybe even September or whenever Through Her Eyes first came out, it was somewhat possible for everyone to maintain a consistent okay, I'm gonna go this way. Somewhat able to maintain a consistent there's some routine, because I just guessed that the 3 editors of back then, namely Aiden, Monet, and myself, I guess we just had a much quicker turnarounds, even if certain people, even if certain visuals were not matching with each other and everything. Say what you want about Monet and Aiden as editors, but they are efficient, and they are way more efficient than the people who tend to complain about all the visuals, namely Quadzi, for example. I don't know. It's one of those delicate balances, and Through Her Eyes ended up being quite the successful miniseries, and it aired along the time, sometimes even in the same month as The Mutant Girl. So yeah, if there was some way to get back to that routine, even with the other editors playing around and not sending stuff in, then honestly I would prefer that. But yeah, I don't know. Because sometimes I have to split everything into scenes that are really short, just so I can get the people who get the good visuals to actually send something in on time, and not get either bogged down by commitments or forget or something, or sometimes even fall asleep. I know, it's ridiculous sometimes. Hold on, there's a lady walking a dog, and a man walking behind. Every time I come down this path. Hold up. Thank you. Here you go. Right. Okay, where was I? Yeah. So, if we can get back to that routine, because honestly, I think, if you don't count the remake, there's only been 2 episodes of Mutant Girl that have come out in the entire year of 2021. And I've said this even back almost back in 2019. Not that far back, but early 2020 actually, that season 2 was 12 episodes long. And it still is. So yeah, we've got a lot still to cover. So yeah, it does worry me sometimes that that's not going to end up happening, and then we'll just end up leaking into the next year. Or heck, maybe I'll do what I did in 2019. I'll just end up leaking it back in the other way, and I'll just and it'll be released on the last day or something. I don't know. Either way, it's playing havoc with the timeline, because obviously we're trying to keep the timeline consistent, and we're still in early 2020, very early 2020 for the actual Mutant Girl, because obviously a lot of the episodes, unlike season 1, take place very quickly in succession from each other. But yeah, no, it's not really clarified. Except, well, no, it's not clarified in the actual release. It's clarified for us, is what I'm trying to say. I know, it's just one of those things. But yeah, I do want to get this stuff done. Whenever there's a project that I start off and I want to aim to release at a certain time, and it just doesn't happen, I do end up regretting it, especially because the hype of Puppy Love was meant to be built around Pride Month. So if we don't keep doing that, basically, then what are we left with? I guess all I can do in the meantime is maybe keep gathering the audio, so at least even then we won't have to wait for the voice actors, which is another concern we sometimes have, before visuals get produced. Otherwise they're just double backing up. And yes, the one part I try to gloss over when making gacha voice acting content, that I think actually might be one of the real reasons why people cancel the projects. I see sometimes that the people in gacha voice acting, they care a lot about the activity on their Discord server. And yes, I remember that there's people who care a lot about Discord server activity. I used to be one of those people. Honestly, there was a time when the people who were active on the Buttercore server were the people disrupting it mostly. And they were like, well, if we go, the server's going to die. And eventually I decided, well, then death to the server. You guys aren't worth it. So that's what ended up happening. Of course, back then, people weren't really on the same page as to how seriously I wanted to take Buttercorp and making the Mutant Girl in question. Not everyone was on the same page about that. So, again, one of those things. Starting to get a headache now. I had water before I came out, but ridiculous. Oh well, I'm close to home anyway. So, but yeah, well, I think the Discord server activity part is excessive to worry about. Like, it's not the kind of thing that you really should get bogged down in if it doesn't play out the way that you want. But I guess the other side of that is, if you're trying to get people engaged in the project, then you really need them on the ball. A lot of people I see justifyingly so, asking for help are some people who are not necessarily targeting the voice actors, but the people they want to have, like tweeners and animators and lip syncers sometimes, because believe it or not, people sometimes separate lip syncing as a separate discipline within the actual gacha, which for me seems like the most tedious and excruciating job in the world, but I guess they seem to enjoy it, so who am I to judge? I think that's why you end up with some shows like Glamwit Academy that have both the moving mouths and the non-moving ones. I think that's partly why that happens. I'm not really sure. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like, again, if people aren't on the ball, that's what lets an idea down sometimes. It's not just the cancellation of a project. And I start to see that now, because I never cancel anything, I just put everything on hiatus unless someone really is not on the ball, like in Stromanoff University, where it just ends up being a complete mess and end up leaving twice or something. Then I get really annoyed. But yeah, as for usually, not really something to worry about. I usually don't cancel anything. So, because that happens, there's so many backed up projects that do get done, but much like BB, they don't get done for years on end. He's got plenty of projects that he wants to do, but he just doesn't he doesn't give them schedules, apart from releasing something 6 months after a trailer comes out, which honestly in internet time seems like a bit too much for me, but there you go. Depending on his attention span and of followers and whatever, it may end up coming back to bite him, but we'll see. Like I said, you got to be on the ball with these things, and you got to produce some stuff with a little bit of speed, because otherwise, what are you left with? An inactive channel, an inactive fan base. That's just the internet for you. So, yeah, maybe now that I'm bringing that soul-searching stuff to an end, maybe I can get back to what I was intending in the first place, which was to kickstart, which was to finish at least these two projects, Puppy Love and the Mutant Girl. Will it being like through her eyes? Probably not, because there's 8 episodes across 2 channels rather than 3 across 1. But at least in this final stretch before I get to next year where I have to really focus on studies. I want to at least leave off significantly better than I am now. So on that note, please leave a like or dislike because your opinion matters. And subscribe if you've not done so already. And on that note, until next time, farewell.